Curtis, are you live on the Facebook page? Okay.
Hi everyone, we are here in St. George.
Whatever.
And we are very happy. Well, I'm actually going to wait for more people to join. No one is here.
Oh, Matthew.
Hi everyone, we are so happy we are here outside St. George courthouse, and we are very excited to let you know that Paul and Wayne were found non-guilty in the 2 counts of burglary and theft. And I just want to show you both of the defendants right now. They are talking to the press, and also we have Mary Corporons, Paul's lawyer. Mary, would you like to share with the people who are watching? How do you feel? Do you feel surprised?
I'm ecstatic. I'm very, very happy. What else can I say?
Were you expecting this?
I never know what to expect going into a trial and coming out the other side. I have no idea. No idea what to expect. So I'm just very happy.
Amazing. And do you have any comments about the prosecution? Like, what are probably...
No. I don't want to make any comments at this time about the prosecution.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Paul and Wayne are here. They're giving an interview, so you can hear.
Priceless. And for them, they got the right to be rescued today. There are billions of animals who don't have that right yet, and we're going to keep working for them. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I just say one more quick.
You know that.
Yeah, one more very quick thing. I'm sorry about that, but there was another case in Wisconsin, a similar case, a similar charge, a similar sentence.
If we can win here,
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Madison, Wisconsin is going to be a piece of cake. And I'm just going to say, Bob in Sonoma County, you should be watching this verdict too, because Sonoma County is not Washington County or Beaver County, Utah. And that's not to say anything negative about this county. I'm just saying the reality of the situation is the political demographics of Utah are very different than California or Madison, Wisconsin. So Dane County, Sonoma County, I don't know why these prosecutors bring cases. And I think, honestly, part of it is there's this projection that happens when you are part of some criminal conduct. And I do think that when a prosecutor receives a criminal animal cruelty report and does not respond to it, you're part of the problem, because that is your responsibility to protect the vulnerable. And so if we tell you, hey, we have concrete evidence of animal cruelty, you should be responding to it. You should be fucking responding to it, because those animals need us. And there's no excuse for letting them die. And if you don't, a jury of our peers is going to let us do it. It's that simple.
Guys, I want to appreciate the time, and I want to tell you really quick.
For the people that are just joining, Paul and Wayne are going to quickly be telling you the live stream, but we are here outside the courthouse, and we just got out
I want to make that
from
clear.
receiving the verdict. We waited all day since 8 a.m. to receive the verdict of not guilty, so we are really, really happy.
Sorry, the guy on Jane Unchained, they want to know what this means for the animal agriculture industry. What do you think this means for the animal agriculture industry?
But now I retract my trash. Yes. But so when we closed the day yesterday, the video recorder in house said to the judge, Your Honor, I know you struck the testimony of those last 2 witnesses, which the judge did. That means the jury's got to pretend they didn't hear it. Easier said than done. I didn't necessarily want them to forget they heard it, because Dean Taylor, Mary, I love you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you more later. I want to say hi to Liz too. I'll see you in the SLC. I'll see you. Job well done, my friend.
And for those
I got hit with a lucky stick when it comes to lawyers. I got Wayne Sean on one side telling people why it matters to just do it no matter what, and Mary Corder on here explaining why we were legally in our rights. Back to that memory card issue. He asked the judge that. So yeah, we wish that we didn't even want it struck necessarily because what they said was pretty damning. Their own vet explained that with the value, it's like it would cost more to actually rehabilitate the pigs than you could have sold them for, whatever. But either way, whether it's good for us or bad for us, the reporter said, "Judge, you struck that from the record. Do you want me to delete that from the footage?" And the Honor said, "Yeah."
There's survey evidence
And
showing that 1 in 2
I was like,
Americans.
"Whoa, hold on a second. I understand if there's the judge is in charge of controlling what the jury hears. He's tasked with making sure the only things they hear won't prejudice them and it's fair to both sides. Do your job, okay." The judge has no say on anything like telling a journalist who has the freedom of press to be in the public gallery,
He didn't respond
short
much to
of
us.
saying
We
don't
wanted
film
the
the
people in
jurors
the- we only were
or
allowed
don't film
10
entire
people
certain
in the
segments
audience.
because of
And one of our-
sensitivity to the jury or whatever. Stricken testimony should not be something that is erased from
that was about
what
it.
happened in the public sphere.
I have to say, I
and
think
then
even the judge was
journalist
swayed by
agreed to
some of
do
the
it,
evidence.
which was very troubling.
He was very,
I
hostile
thought maybe
to
it's
me
an access
throughout
journalism
the
issue
trial.
where journalists
first
have
asked
to
if I
sort
could
of
approach, he said
bend
no.
over a little bit for the
He told
state
me
or
to sit down
whoever
once,
to be an
he said,
NFL
for no
team
particular reason.
and report the way
You're
they want
actually
things
required
reported in order to get
under
access.
Utah rules
Marina
to stand
Balakova for the Intercept
But he
had
didn't want to hear
permission
what I
to
was
record the
saying,
WebEx,
so he
and that
just
was
said,
taken
"Please
away
sit
from
down."
her.
He didn't even say, "Please
And that's the
sit down."
public's only view is the WebEx.
But by the
Took it away from
end
her,
of the trial,
granted it
he
to this
understood
reporter to
why we were
record,
doing what we did.
and then
And again,
towards
that
the
is with a
selectively
very,
deleted parts
very
that
limited
shouldn't have been
narrative.
deleted.
We only
So
got
that was
in
really troubling.
10,
So this
5%
night's
of what we
journalist here
wanted to
today,
get in. We were
told
getting
me that those
objected
haven't
to
been
left and
deleted.
right. If you follow
And
this trial,
I
you
don't
know
think they
that
intend to. So,
every
so
third
Faith
sentence
Restored
I was
and
trying to
St.
make,
George News.
either
And
as a
besides that
witness or
criticism either
was
way,
gonna cut off
I
on the
love
other
St. George
side.
News, and I'm
And
so
they're
glad they
also
were here
doing
and
imposters
wrote
today.
some
They don't
awesome
exist.
pieces.
Paul, could you share how
That
you
were being
felt?
sustained against
Like how
us.
you feel? Were you expecting this or
We
like
got
not at all?
through.
Here's what I felt like. I feel now almost the same way I did going in. I can't tell you, I'm just usually excited for what's to come. If Wayne would have been in prison, my heart would break for the idea of him suddenly being property of the state, him being mistreated. No one can take him out of there. I did not want my co-defendant to be in that position. I sure as hell didn't want to be in that co-position. I felt like I had a 50-50 chance, but no matter what happens, if we were in there, we would still be excited to make the best of whatever situation comes out. If we had been locked up over this, I think there would have been a lot of outcry. A lot of people would be talking about, are you kidding me? The people, this video, this Operation Death Star, where they clearly rescued these 2 sick piglets from this horrific factory farm, they're in jail? That's what you're spending, $60,000 worth of tax dollars on when kids don't have nice laptops? Someone could use a scholarship. Like, that would be infuriating to the general public, and so we'd be excited to harness that outrage towards a just end. But maybe I'm a little selfish, but I like this outcome too. I like it for me, and I like it for Lily and Lizzie, and I'm excited to get back to the Bay.
Is there any message that you have for activists, especially like international, that are just watching you and they might also have been facing similar situations?
I'd say if you're watching this and you're an activist around the world, you are in beyond the top 1% of people on the planet who are trying to change the planet for good. The norm in this world is to fall in line, to get whatever job, get whatever house, do this, do that, and everybody just goes on all the while this injustice is just crushing so many people. So many people can't do what I just explained because they are being crushed by injustice, whether they're human or non-human or anybody. But there's a small sliver of people out there who see that and say, I'm not okay with that. I need to do something to help. And that's you. And when I say do something to help, the key word is do. If you're watching this, you are a doer. Keep being a doer. It's really easy to be overwhelmed with the pain and the frustration, and sometimes it is overwhelming. You got to take a break and just chill. But you're a doer, and you got to just find ways to do good things. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to suffer. But in the process, you're going to learn, and you're going to do better, and you're going to grow. And doing it together, we're going to change the world. We have to try. I might not live long enough to see what I want to see, but if you're watching this and you're half my age, you might see it. So please keep up the great work.
The writing is on the wall.
You inspired me to become more of a doer. You made my activism step it up.
Well, I'm gonna put Wayne here because he's also doing another live stream, but you can hear what he's saying to the people. He's answering some questions right now.
So inspiration, sometimes you gotta
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, if Justice Thomas and Alito aren't paying attention to this decision, they should, because as justices of the United States of America, not just the Republican Party, not just the conservative movement, but even if they were just representing the conservative movement, most of the jurors on this jury today were probably Trump supporters and probably Republicans. And they just let a guy who walked into a factory farm and took 2 piglets out without the consent of Smithfield walk out of the courtroom free. And so they have to ask themselves, do they want to be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history? And for hundreds of years, the legal system, the courtroom, and in particular the Supreme Court, have been the places where the most transformative changes and the most transformative catastrophes have unfolded in American history, whether it's Plessy versus Ferguson, right, the famous cases upholding segregation, to Brown versus Board of Education, when the Supreme Court struck it down, whether it's Roe versus Wade and Dobbs, that was ruled on just a few months ago. And I think even if you're a conservative justice, like an Alito, like a Thomas, like a Gorsuch, you have to be asking yourself, is this actually the right thing for our country? Are the interests at stake just interests that are sectarian, a small interest group of animal rights activists, or is this something everybody in America, including people in Utah, deeply and profoundly care about? And resoundingly, what happened today was a jury of people in Utah said, we care about animals. We care about animals.
But they knew the right direction was. Took them a long time. That's why I'm so proud of Wayne.
You can buy me a meal later, Jane, and I love you so much. I can't wait to come to Southern California, hang out with you and Nick and everyone else in LA.
Can you share it with our page? How are you feeling?
I don't think it's really sunk in. I'm still kind of.
Yeah, Wayne cannot even talk.
I mean, I dreamed of this like 20 years ago when I first heard of Open Rescue, when Patty Marks first came to the United States. Like, Keenan and I have been in the animal rights movement for a long time, so it just was unthinkable. 10 years ago, people were scared to leaflet. The ATA had been passed. There were all these ag laws. Everyone was scared of everything. Yeah. And now we just had a jury.
Find out what the juror question was.
The juror question was, who determines the value of the property? But the other set of jury questions that all got stricken. Do you remember when they had all those questions for Richard Topham after I crossed him? Because I'd crossed him and I made an objection saying, Your Honor, if they're allowed to present positive animal welfare evidence, we have to be able to present negative welfare evidence. And then he just kind of shut everything down at that point. It was like, oh wait, this is actually true. Like, we cannot allow them to go on and on about how we've got veterinarians, we're training all our staff members, they're taking good care of the animals, when we denied the defense every single exhibit. Like, literally, they cut up a photograph just because there was another animal in it. That's ridiculous. And so we made this point to the judge. But the reason they had to shut everything down is because every single one of the juror questions there was about the animal welfare conditions at Smithfield. And that was the first sign that the jury was with us. But I thought the question today was good too. Not as good as the animal welfare questions. The animal welfare questions, I thought, okay. The judge has been saying from day one, this is not a trial Smithfield. And the jurors recognize, no, this actually is a trial Smithfield. Like, we want to know and we want to judge how they are treating their animals. And they did judge how they're treating the animals today. And they judge that they're treating them animals like shit.
So do you have a message for the people that are watching?
Is this DXC's live stream?
Yeah, this is DXC's.
So so I know which live stream.
Also, like, international activists are also watching. So.
I said win or lose, or I should say, guilty or innocent, we keep doing the same thing, which is just speaking our truth. Like, what happened in this courtroom is, I quote unquote confessed. Like, Mary Corcoran was saying, please do not do this. Do not get up on the stand and say exactly what you did and tell the jury that, yes, I walked in. Yes, I took the piglets out. Don't say those things. They haven't proven them. They have a burden of proof, and you have a right to presumption of innocence. Don't do these things. And it actually caused some tension, even like a little conflict. This is one of the reasons they almost moved for a mistrial, because they were concerned. There was a little bit of split in the defense. And I think that lesson and that mantra, like, let's just speak our truth. Let's not be scared of what we did. I made a lot of mistakes in this trial, but I will say the biggest mistake I made is not being more transparent. Like, I wish, now granted, the judge probably would have stricken all my questions and would have allowed me to be more transparent, but to the extent I could have, I wish I could have talked about all the things I did at Smithfield in the days and weeks and months before. Right. So, because the one trip up was when, I think for a lot of people, they heard Andrew talk about the day before. And
that surprised me, yeah.
Yeah, to me, I was just under the impression it was not allowed under the judge's rulings, because like the judge, when I started talking about here are the investigations I've done, and I was talking about, my concerns about Smithfield, it was acquired by Shang Kuai in 2013. I was looking at GPS imagery from 2013 to 2016. I was going to try and walk through the entire history of our investigation, and the judge shut it down and said, get to March 7th and the elements of Berkeley. But somehow the prosecution was allowed to talk about March 6th and March 5th, which was not fair or right. And it impeached my credibility because it seemed like I was trying to hide something when I had just been prevented by the judge from saying the things I thought needed to be said. But we should have fought harder on that, and I should have found more ways to just convey to the jury what we're actually doing. But
How do you feel about the next cases that you are facing?
Bring it on. Bring it on. And not even the next cases. I want more cases here too. Like when I get home, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to email Vaughn Christensen, the county attorney of Beaver County, and say, you need to have a conversation with me right now about the animal abuse that's happening at Smithfield Foods. Because you have just seen definitively, that a jury of our peers has concluded these animals are being discarded and are worthless. And that means that they're violating the law. Because in Utah, as in every state in the nation, in Utah, as in every state in the nation.
You can talk to everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get on the mic.
Well, meanwhile, we put Wayne on the mic. I could share a little bit more of my experience yesterday because I went into the court, me and other 9 people, and it was a very tough day because there were some remaining character testimonies and witnesses remaining from the defense and also from the prosecution. And the prosecution fought really, really hard to bring back two witnesses that are, one is Dan Taylor, which is one of the head of the veterinarians here in Utah, and the other one was a worker from Smithfield. And the prosecution brought them unexpectedly. So all the morning, Wayne and Mary and Paul were arguing hey, if they are allowed to bring their witnesses again, then we are also allowed to bring our expert, Sherstin Rosenberg, again. But at the end, they spoke and they were sharing about some of the conditions about Smithfield, even though the defense wasn't really allowed to talk about these conditions. They were starting to get in there, and then the jury had a lot of questions. I think that almost everyone, the 9 jurors, shared their questions. And when the judge and everyone gathered in the front to see all the questions, there was an issue. Okay, now this is too much because now we're talking about the conditions and animal welfare, which the judge and the prosecution fought really hard for us to not be able to talk about it. So after those questions, they decided okay, we cannot talk about this, so you either are gonna have a mistrial or we can just wait and maybe eliminate those witnesses and their testimonies and just eliminate all the questions. So that was kind of pretty strange to me. At the end, the prosecution brought those people expecting them to, make questions and try to bring down the testimony that Sherstin gave. But after they realized, no, people are asking them questions hey, how many veterinarians do you have at Smithfield? you have approximately 1.2 million pigs, and how many veterinarians you have? You have 2, so that means that every veterinarian should be checking on every piglet like every 10 seconds or something like that. Like, you can do the math for me, but it was just really, it started to get really complicated for them, because now they realize, like, oh, why are we having these questions? That means that, yeah, I mean, the animals inside Smithfield are living in pure hell. And no matter what these guys were trying to say, mocking the testimony of Kirsten, saying that she exaggerated, even saying that Lily, her foot, was probably like injured for approximately like 48 hours or 24. And this doesn't make any sense. Like, these piglets were suffering since the day one that they were born, and they were struggling to even suck on their mothers and, you know, get milk from them. Also, falling in all the feces and in the dirt in that place. So, yeah, but they were saying, no, we have excellent conditions at Smithfield, we are very proud, and blah, blah, blah. And after that, at the end, the prosecution was like, okay, we are gonna remove these testimonies. It's fine, let's just try to expect the jurors to forget about it, which, you know, Mary even said, like, once you open that Pandora box, it's just impossible to close it. Once you keep introducing the animal welfare conditions and the questions of like what's happening with these piglets, why they don't want to show us the video, why they don't want to show us more like the exhibits that the defendants were trying to submit as evidence. Like, all of this, I just think that all of that planted a big question mark in the jurors. Like, if they are really trying so hard to hide this from us, then it means that, you know, probably they actually did the right thing. Like, actually, Lily and Lizzie probably deserved and really wanted to be rescued from this horrific place, to receive veterinary care, to feel comfort, to feel love, and to have a different life from, you know, her mother and all the pigs that just live a hell inside of Smithfield. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna show you a little bit more of the people. People are very excited. They are taking a group photo here in front of the court.
Human freedom, animal rights. What do we want? Animal liberation. When do we want it? Now. Are we going to fight for it? Yes. Are we going to get it? Yes. What do the animals need? Animal liberation. When do they need it? Now. What do we want? Animal liberation. When do we want it? Now. One struggle, one fight. Human freedom, animal rights. One struggle, one fight. Human freedom, animal rights.
Yeah, and for the people that are just joining, we are here celebrating this victory, because this isn't just a victory for Paul and Wayne. This is a victory for the animal rights movement, because I don't know, at least recently, of any other case of open rescue where we had a victory like this, where the juror decided, yeah, rescuing animals from farms is not a crime. Like, animals deserve to be rescued. Animals deserve to get veterinary care, and animals deserve to not live in these horrible places and end up in someone's plate. So right now, Wayne and Paul are gonna share their thoughts in the microphone and gather. We had so many plans, you know, we were expecting the worst. Like, yeah, probably we were expecting our friends to go to jail or prison and be taken away from us right away. But I'm just so glad that all of these plans are just not gonna happen, and we're gonna be able to still have Paul and Wayne fighting for animals. There are still some upcoming cases of other investigations and rescues that Paul and Wayne are facing together. And yeah, I'm just so excited, because none of them deserve to go to prison, and there's so much work that they can still do for the animals, and it will be such a tragedy and a loss to not have them with us.
Check it out.
So, well, maybe, Mira, do you want to share how you feel?
Feels unreal. Like, you know, this doesn't mean that everywhere, you know, someone can legally do this, but I think that this is going to be a major turning point. I think a lot of prosecutors are going to look at this case and say they had over 8 FBI agents, the entire state, prosecuting this case for 4.5 years. They had the quote-unquote crime on camera. They had a confession from the defendant in the courtroom, and the jury said no, not guilty on all charges. And I think that that's going to make a lot of people think twice about prosecuting these kind of cases. And I'm just relieved too. You know, Paul and Wayne are incredible members of our team, and I was really scared to lose them, you know, and to not have them with us and fighting for this. And now they're going to be with us. And Wayne's dad just said now he gets to come home, and now we do it again. We do it in Sonoma, and we do it in Wisconsin. We do it in Merced with Alicia and Alexandra. So yeah, I'm really fucking happy right now.
I really wish we could have, because we would have honestly been excited.
Yeah, for the people that are just joining, we are here outside St. George Courthouse, and Paul and Wayne are going to share in a bit how they feel, and we are also going to plan how are we going to celebrate, because again, this is a victory.
Woo, it's hot.
It's a huge victory for the right to rescue and for Rosa's Law, and we are going to keep fighting for all the rights for the animals to be rescued, to be free, to not be killed, to have, you know, their homes and habitats protected and their rights represented, because even though Paul and Wayne in this case were representing Lily and Lizzie, in some way they were also part, and at the same time it was like, okay, yeah, we really think that you both deserve the right to be rescued, and that you both deserve to get out of that horrible place, and like no pig and no other animal should go through what Lily and Lizzie went through, and what their mother went through, and what all the animals that are going through right now in Smithfield, because we cannot forget that Circle 4 Farms is still operating, even though they are downsizing and closing their slaughterhouse in Los Angeles. There's still slaughterhouses and still other farms from Smithfield in Mexico, in Europe, in many other countries. And we also have other huge corporations that are exploiting and killing animals. So this sometimes feels like an endless fight, but this victory just shines a light in how much we can achieve if we fight together and if we confront this fucking horrible system. And especially,
hey everybody. Hello.
Okay, so I'm
Hi.
gonna get Paul here.
Take my
for
mask
you.
off. Wow. I just want to start with just a couple thank yous. Maybe more than a couple. I could just name every single person here for one thing, but just honestly, in particular, our legal team. That was Liz Hunt and Mary Corporon. Liz got us to this point with so much work. Wayne could have never, because Wayne was working his butt off all along too, and Liz was working her butt off along with Mary all along too. And the hearings were tough. They were endless. This case has lasted forever. These lawyers didn't work for free, but they might as well have. The value of these lawyers did us a big favor.
Above zero for sure.
Yeah, above zero, but not much. When you per hour, they really put in the work. Can't thank them enough. So proud of them and of Wayne. And then behind Wayne, Wayne's got Dean right to his left side the whole time, helping organize. Then this other team of these dudes, it was like Josh and Taj and Andre.
Jessica too.
Jessica remotely. And listen, when the judge withholds the jurors' names up until the last minute, if you don't have those 5 people designated as your 5 people to look up some information about these folks and try to see who you got, then you don't get that jury that we got. That was a smart jury. They were beautiful. They were amazing. We put everybody into all these categories. We labeled people from green to yellow to red, and some people were yellow-red, some were green-yellow. And Wayne got us to the point to correct the judge's original ruling. The judge says each side gets 10 strikes. Wayne pointed out, you're wrong, judge. we should get 10. They shouldn't get an extra 5 just because we get it, because we have our own interest in the case. Wayne needs to use his strikes if he finds somebody who might be anti-Asian. I need to use my strikes if we find somebody who's anti-mullet or whatever. But so we went into it with not sufficient information about the juror who held our freedom in their hands. But thanks to that team of people I named, enough. And the judge ended up still giving them an extra strike because somebody who Wayne freakishly rehabilitated. This person went, we can talk about this stuff now. This person went from saying, I'm in favor of the idea of jury nullification. I don't know if I wouldn't really convict somebody of a crime if I thought it was wrong. That's instant, get the hell out of here for most judges and everything. Somehow Wayne interviewed this guy on WebEx and got him to be like, well, what I really mean is, if I look at the facts, I will look at the facts and I'll uphold the idea that there is a reasonable doubt out there. And the judge was like, Wayne, you've done a master class in juror rehabilitation. He's in the pool. The next day, the judge woke up. I don't know if he came to his senses or what, but he said, you know what, y'all? Thinking about it again on second thought, that was a really problematic questionnaire.
Now we can talk about what happened afterwards.
Yeah. Before we get to that, part. So here's what so then the judge said this. He said I reversed my ruling, which maybe that's within his rights to do. What wasn't cool is he said, and on top of that, I don't have it in me to have the prosecutors burn one of their precious strikes on this person. So he gave him a 6th strike essentially. Then why don't you tell him?
Yeah. So the next morning, I'm not on Facebook at all myself, but Shiloh, who's amazing, thank you, Shiloh, I love you so much. She sends me a screenshot and says, there's a very odd message from someone who says they were in the jury pool. And I get a message request from someone on Facebook saying, man, I was on the jury pool. I read about your case after I was stricken, and I wish I'd answered my questions differently. I'm rooting for you guys. Let me know, what I can do. And I just obviously friended him, and I said, yeah, let's hang out. I'd love to grab a bite with you and see what you thought about this case. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to reach out to him. And I know Eva connected with one juror, and hopefully they reach out too. But we really want to have an understanding of what the thought process was behind all this. I want to say there is, 2 other people I really want to thank. Because I think a lot of you probably heard me, if you were around this week, that I was kind of struggling, and I was. I was just not my best this entire week, and Dean saw this too. I lashed out at Dean once. Sorry about that, Dean. I wasn't the kindest to Dean. And one night when there was one case, it was a mix-up that was your fault, but the other case that was totally unacceptable was a mix-up on my fault, and I still lashed out at you for it because I thought it was my fault, and that was totally inappropriate. But I was not at my best this week, and I think I could have done much better, and I just wasn't in the right headspace. But there are 2 people who really made an enormous difference for me. And that was Lily and Lizzie. I'm serious. I was watching the videos of them, and I had an image of them as my screensaver, my desktop background. I talked to Camito a little bit, but I also talked to, I think I can say, Shalene this week as well. And when I talked to him about Lily and Lizzie, I started crying. Because I just think about, if you look at the situation they were in then and the situation they're in today, why wouldn't we all want this for all living beings, this as well as anybody. Camito, you're with them a lot. Nahoya, they live near these 2 beautiful creatures who didn't deserve the crate and the suffering they were living in. And the jury bought that too. So, on to the next rescue, huh?
People are asking about the question of the jury.
Do you want to explain it? Okay, so the question was a interesting question. We all knew there are different elements to these quote-unquote crimes. So the burden is on the jury at this point to determine what facts exist, and if those facts point to them being really, really confident that these quote-unquote crimes happened. One of the elements was intent. Did we really intend to go in there and take anybody out? One of the elements in my case was did I exercise control over the quote-unquote property? I didn't. Wayne did. But then the last element was price, value. And Wayne and Mary fought hard to get the correct ruling and the correct definition of value into the jury instructions. They ultimately failed to fight this fight that would explain that means fair market value. because like what's value? If I value something, then it's got value. But what it should be is judged by as like fair market value, and that didn't get in there. All we got was less than $500, which is not good because 0 is less than $500. But then eventually, we also got in small print down there mixed in with the instructions. This is why I'm glad our jury's really smart and read very carefully. But it has to have some positive value. And the question after
Greater than 0.
Greater than 0 specifically. So the question after 4.5, 5 hours of arguing these folks, the question came that said, when you mean greater than 0, like who does that apply to? Like Smithfield or fair market value? And we're like, wow, this jury is smart. They're bringing up fair market value. Like that's the words we wanted in there, and they're already thinking about it. And the prosecution and our side were sort of trying to kick around some. Yes. So we tried to come to some agreement on, hey, maybe we can say fair market value, at least in the eyes of anyone. And they would say, well, including the owner, all this kind of stuff. And they were not being very generous in what they were able to do. So ultimately, the judge said, or we can just tell them no answer. And ultimately, Wayne and I said, tell them no answer, because these answers that they're given, I think, are trying to open the door or something to some answer that we don't want. And so they went there just knowing the value means greater than 0 or less than 500. And cooler heads, rational minds knew that these animals and the conditions they were, even though they couldn't see the entirety of the video, if they saw that whole video, they would have been in there 10 minutes to reach this conclusion. But
there were another set of questions that I thought. There were another set of questions that I thought were incredibly important that the jury asked that we weren't able to tell you about before. And this is when basically the trial went off the rails and everything got shut down for like an entire day, right? Yesterday? Was that yesterday? God.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
It feels like years ago. I feel like that was, a generation ago. It's like, you remember when our grandkids had that trial? Everything got shut down? Man, our grandkids had such a tough day. Wait, that was us. That was yesterday. No, so if you recall what happened, Richard Topham. So Dean Taylor testifies and we object to everything. And I actually think his testimony was good for us at the end of the day. But Richard Topham gets up there and he's going to talk about, and actually Richard Topham, mostly good for us too, because he's saying, we have 2 vets for 1.2 million pigs. Well, he first said we have 2 vets and didn't give the context that this is for 1.2 million pigs. He just said, yeah, we've got 2 vets, not just 1. Yeah, we're really good. Shearson's got 1 vet. We got 2 at Smithfield. And didn't say, that's for 1.2 million pigs and Shearson's got 160. That's a pretty big difference.
2 pigs. Shearson only has 2 pigs.
No, she's got more than that. No, I've been there very recently. Listen, she's got more than that. Be careful.
Not 160 though.
Not 160 pigs. Yeah, for sure. It's 160 animals. But anyways, so we get up there in Quas, and then they try and go and redirect and try and explain, okay, it's 2 vets for 1.2 million pigs, but these 2 vets are training millions of really amazing vet techs who are going to take care of all the 1.2 million pigs. And so they're going down this path of talking about how wonderful the animal welfare conditions are. And we object and say, Your Honor, all of this testimony is completely inconsistent with what you've done for us this entire trial. Literally, the mere mention of a piglet on the verge of dying, has been stricken from the record, objected to, and you've excluded it from the trial, even though it is relevant evidence. And it was just right. That's correct. You cannot allow one side to present this evidence in a way that's favorable for them and deny the other side the right to present any evidence at all. And so we had a long argument. Most of it was in camera. Some of it was in chambers. So I think part of it you didn't even hear, Paul. We're just arguing about these same issues. It was basically the same argument. Just, if Smithfield is presented a favorable case for its animal welfare, why aren't we allowed to present all of our evidence? And so we said, Your Honor, in light of the fact you've now allowed them to have 2 witnesses, Dr. Dean Taylor, who's talked about how wonderful the veterinary practices are at Smithfield, and Richard Topham, a complex manager at Smithfield, to talk about how these 2 vets are somehow training hundreds of staff members to care for 1.2 million pigs. We should be entitled. We got to go back to all these exhibits. Remember that photograph they cut off? Yeah. They literally had us get scissors and cut off 3/4 of the photograph because they showed a mother pigs. What it shows, for those of you who didn't see the photograph, which is probably all of you, what it showed was a mother pig with these teats that had been shredded to almost nothing. I mean, they'd shredded into 30 tentacles of blood. And, this is what Shearson was calling hypogalactia. We were saying, well, Your Honor, we got to go back and show the jury all the things that we've actually found at Smithfield. And the judge said, I'm not going to do that.
So you can choose between two things. I see your point, because our point was a sound one. I can declare a mistrial, or I can just shut everything down now, and I'm going to just tell the jury to ignore all the last two witnesses. So that was totally unfair to us, because it's like, you can't just tell someone to ignore something they heard for the last 2 hours. They can't just forget it, right? But we weren't really given a choice unless we were willing to just cancel the entire trial. And I will say, there were a lot of people encouraging us to take a mistrial. Like, Professor Abraham was like texting me constantly. He was on the legal team here. I guess everybody left. But, you know, you heard this. Like, Andre was saying, like, Professor Abraham is telling you, you need to take the mistrial, take the mistrial, take the mistrial. And we made a gamble and said, no, we actually want to move forward. We want a verdict. And it was 100% the right call. But, yeah, it's just been so up and down, and I'm just stunned, again, that, one, I was a terrible attorney, or by my standards at least, I feel like I did a poor job this week. Two, we had 10%. I should go back and look at the number of exhibits we had and the number we got in, but Dean has seen them. It's probably about 15% of the total, including the proffer. Because we had, I think, 40 exhibits, another 40 or 50 proffer exhibits, and only 10 that got in about. I think probably. Like, well, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it was 15 exhibits that got in. But anyways, it was a small fraction.
There was a lot of stuff we didn't even try because we knew.
Yeah, well, we did, and it was briefed, and it was submitted in a USB drive and a proffer, but like, you know, the Circle 4 application that are the landfill permit. So we had at least one attorney who was not on his game. We had no exhibits. We didn't have the opportunity to play the video footage of the actual crime. We were not allowed to talk about our motive, and we still fucking won. We still won. How did this happen, Lewis? How did this happen, Mr. Bernier? Thank you.
I want to say thanks to the judge. There were plenty of times where I felt like the judge had found us guilty in his mind. He framed Smithfield as the victim for months in our hearings. Said he wasn't going to refer to Smithfield as the victim in open court. Ended up doing it anyway the whole time. Rarely would put alleged in front of it. But when push came to shove, he really ruled, in our opinion, wrong in some ways. But he surprised me a little bit. I've got experience with this. I sat before a judge in a restitution hearing where the prosecution was telling me I needed to pay $331,000 to a factory farm for what they did to kill 30,000 chickens. And at the end of it, despite our lawyers, no offense, not being the caliber of Ms. Corporon or Mr. Shung, I felt like this is plainly obvious. This is an unreasonable decision that this place made. Police, they said that we didn't use proper biosecurity and that they always do. Then a police officer testified that he came onto the farm with no biosecurity measures. And I thought, this is open and shut. And then in walks the judge, who's in a farm county with farm buddies, and he ruled that I do owe $331,000. And this judge, he's got some farm buddies too, I'm sure. If he's in this area, he's got some friends in the industry, certainly friends in law enforcement. But at the end of the day, I think he did his best to set any biases aside and gave us an opportunity that was obviously enough. So I gotta thank the judge, and I'm very appreciative to the courthouse staff and even the counsel on the other side. Because I love everybody, I guess. But yeah, I found some respect for those folks, and they're professionals in what they do, and they're probably feeling rough right now because I know some of their witnesses for law enforcement said they didn't bother to question any of the suspects, or as they refer to them as targets, FBI targets, because they felt like they just had enough evidence to convict. No need to question anybody. But turns out they were wrong. So thanks to Wayne and Mary.
I want to thank the judge too for something else, because I think it's possible that he was so biased against me, especially in the early stages, that the jurors just decided this guy's getting bullied and gagged and railroaded, and this is not right. Like, we don't want this person to go to prison after he has been treated as poorly as he's been treated over the first couple days. I will say he did act a little more fairly in the last couple days. I've said before, I think the turning point was Professor Marceau's testimony. I'm going to text Justin and give him a call and thank him for that. But there was something about Professor Marceau that seemed to just change the tenor of the judge towards me, too. So it was weird. The character witness was really supposed to appeal to the jury, but I think it had a bigger effect on the judge. You know? It's like the judge was listening, too, and saying, oh, Maybe this guy, I mean, he was treating me like a child, you know, like a child who needed to be spanked or something like that. For the first, I mean, that's the way I felt. And it was, I mean, I'm used to it. I've been treated much worse, but I also thought this is kind of inappropriate given that I'm, you know, not just a defendant, but a lawyer, a former law professor. You know, I have a lot of experience at the law, and I'm being told to sit down and I can't approach and confer with the judge and all these things that just, you wouldn't treat like a first-year law student this way, you know? But I don't know. But I do think at the end of the day, notwithstanding that he was extremely biased against me in the first couple of days, and this is a weird thing to say, but I do think he's a good person. Like, I think when we were back in chambers, there were just little things he did. Like, he was always concerned about whether everyone even had a chair, whether people had water, whether they had access to the bathroom. Like, and it wasn't just politeness. Sometimes it's just like politeness. He just seemed like the sort of person who does want people not to suffer. And I just wish he understood that about the pigs too. Yeah, what's up, Curtis?
You all do jazzercise in chambers too?
Thought about it. I haven't worked out in a week. This is the longest I haven't worked out, probably since North Carolina, actually. I didn't work out in North Carolina that week either, so I need to get to Orangeburg. What's up, Nina?
So the judge talked about why didn't you guys leave a letter? Yeah. So is that something that would have changed things?
Well, I mean, we still would have been not guilty. So we already won, so we don't have to do any more. It's a strange request because, again, as Andrew testified, when you're doing an investigation, you don't want to let people know the investigation is happening. Maybe at the end of it, but even then, you know, you kind of have to go to the media first and prepare your report and do all this stuff, like compile your footage and, you know, get a legal opinion about it and all these things before you actually go to the company. Because if you go to the company too early, they can, I mean, these are very influential, powerful companies. They can sue you, they can file for an injunction, you know, they can, you know, there's just like a billion things. They can clean up their act and change some of the practices, just complicate your ability to get your narrative out there. And they have, a company like Smithfield has unlimited resources compared to us. Like, it really is just unlimited resources. So no, I don't think that particular suggestion makes sense. I was talking to some folks, though. Who was I talking to this about this? Was it you, Lee? Were we talking about leaving the white flower? I've talked, we were talking about this. Like, I've always thought that animal rights activists should have something like the Batman symbol, you know? When the light goes up, you know we're here to help. But the Batman symbol's, you know, it's a little aggressive. We're not trying to beat anybody up like Batman. So I've always thought, like, what if every time we did an open rescue, we just left the white flower behind inside the farm? Just to let them know, you know, we were here. You know, we're watching. And we're watching with love, even towards you. Like, maybe we leave a white flower in a plate of cookies. I don't know, this is just me spitballing.
That's what Martin Smedjebek did.
That's right, Martin Smedjebek in Toma Barar.
Yeah.
The Swedish activist. Didn't that guy go to prison for a while, though? For a month, just a month. And I still haven't served time. How has that happened? How is that possible? Like, I've gotten so much trouble. Martin, like, does it for 2 years and he's in jail. Yeah. What were you going to say, Almira?
I said, like, prison or it's jail.
Yeah, in Sweden it's a little bit different.
It's, like, literally nicer than anyone.
Yeah. It's like summer camp. So you go to summer camp for the weekend, you go home on the weekends on furlough.
What do you want to do now?
I want to hang out with you all. And then Paul and I, we promised ourselves that we're going to Zion. So we got to go. But honestly, the thing I really want to do is I want to go home and see my dog and my cat. So I'm going to go to Zion, I'm going to go home, and then I'm probably going to go to Happy Hen. I'm going to go see pigs. And I'll probably try and get out to Colorado again, my friend.
What about Smithfield?
I'm going to see, well, I'm going to be back at Circle 4 for sure. Like, the first thing I'm going to do when I get home is I'm going to send an email to Vaughn and say, look, let's talk about this. And, you know, you see that it's difficult to prosecute these cases because these animals are suffering. And there's a better approach, which is working with us. Let's start an investigation in one of these farms. And let's get the government working with us to rescue the animals instead of prosecuting the rescuers. So, can you all believe this? I'm thinking about this and I think, no, this is, the jury hasn't come out yet. We're still waiting, right? Are we still waiting for the jury to come out?
They're long gone.
No, I meant like a verdict. Like I'm still taking a nap and I just met Maggie and Belinda just got me some food. We haven't had a verdict yet, right? Has anything happened? Wow.
History happened.
History happened. It did.
Speaking of history, I said this to the St. George News, but the most historical thing I think that happened today is that two individuals, Lily and Lizzie, got in court their right to be rescued.
Yeah.
And you know, it is because of the conditions they were in, and that's not what we want. We want everybody to have the ability to be the right to be rescued from situations of distress or exploitation. And there's billions of animals out there who don't have it yet. But I'll take this step. Kamito pointed out that our roadmap to animal liberation, and yeah, we said animal liberation, Vaughn. All right, no offense, bro, but yeah, it's like, yeah, we're trying. That doesn't mean we have intent to rescue anybody at any certain time. It's our overall goal. I got an intent to rescue animals in the future. I'll tell you that. Like, because I know I'm going to see more who need help and who don't, you know. So, but yeah, on that roadmap on 2025, it says a major win for the right to rescue in court. So we're a little ahead of schedule, and we'll take it.
Yeah, I got one thing I just want to say too is, so I wrote a blog and we did a podcast with Priya this week, and it's been a tough couple weeks for Priya, because you know we co-parent this dog and this cat, and you know I love her more than anybody in the world, and she's family to me. You know, she's like a sister, but there were some tears shed this week because Almira knows the list because. There's a lot of shit in my life that you have to address if I'm in prison.
Please write a book for me.
I have like a book with a publishing company that's been offered. I'm like, Priya, can you write this book that has been offered? But even just like, you know, I've got like a condo that's underwater that I can't sell because I bought it in 2007, the worst possible time, and I have no money to pay for it anymore. I got, you know, a car that's broken down and the insurance isn't working. Got 2 animals who are quite ill, especially my boy Joan. Like he's got to get enemas every week, and Priya's, you know, not down for giving sub-Q fluids, so I'm trying to teach her this. So she's been so stressed out, and we made all these plans under the assumption that I wasn't coming back. And throughout it all, like she was saying, why are we doing this? You're coming back. I'm like, well, maybe not. But she's very happy now, and I will say she's been right twice, because she was right in North Carolina too. She predicted in North Carolina, even after I called her at the end of closing, because I told her I think I'm going to be convicted, and I did the same, you know, yesterday night. I said, you know, I don't think this is going to go the way we want it to go, or at least in the short term. I'm like, I really did mean it when I said guilty or innocent, we win, because I think, you know, this was a struggle where we had our hands and our feet tied behind our back, and we still won, right? We still won, and that's the power of the truth. That no matter how much you try and hold it back, no matter how much you try and tie it up and cover it up, it does come out in just these glimpses, and the jurors recognize the truth. But yeah, no, I'm just really grateful to her, and I know she wanted to be here, but she had 2 animals she needed to take care of. So yeah, so thanks, Priya. What's up?
Tanya has a question.
What's up, Tanya?
I feel like that was very
No, it's all good.
Did you ever come around to the prosecutor because they can't pronounce your name?
No, I never have. Same game. It's been 4 years, and Miss McCann still can't pronounce my name. But you know, I think that she obviously can't do some other things right too, right? Just kidding. That was me. No, I think
Got it.
yeah, I think they had a lot of advantages in this case, and yeah, while I'm sure there's some things the prosecution could have done more expertly, at the end of the day, they lost because the truth is on our side.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
There's something I want to share with the jury observations.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when the jury came in, honestly, I saw their faces and I was looking at them and I thought 100%
conviction.
they're convicting you, dude. Like they're gone. That's it. That's settled. And that's why when they said the verdict, like not guilty, I didn't believe them. I bring it to process and I was like, there's no way they said the word not, right? They said guilty. And honestly, when I look at them, like their faces, they looked kind of sad and regretful. Like they looked uncomfortable. I didn't see a single juror, even the ones I thought who would vote for us. I didn't see them smiling. I didn't see them being that happy. And honestly, I think it's because there are contradictions here in this case. There are. I think, like the judge said, he's concerned about vigilantism, and I think what a lot of people are concerned about is people not being accountable, people taking things into their own hands. But I think what the beauty of open rescue is showing is that when you really look at the contradictions in our society, when you really grapple with the fact of what we are doing to animals, the right thing to do is to rescue that animal.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure you read it correct, because I think my experience with jurors and people in court is everybody just kind of treats it as pretty serious, and they'd never. I mean, it's something that most people just take pretty seriously, and it's an intense experience. And we'll find out a little bit from Eva and others, you know, if we can contact some of these jurors and see what they think, which will be very interesting. But one thing I want to say is, you know, it's a guy by the name of John Campbell, who's a law professor, and he also does these large end studies of trials. And we created an entire mock trial from their survey with a few hundred people. And I was kind of skeptical of the result, but the first sign that I thought we had a shot here was that result came back in close to 50-50, which was shocking to me. Because I was expecting, the first time we did this study in North Carolina, it was like 1585 against us, 2080. No. North Carolina was bad. In Iowa, we did it again and it was better. In Iowa, it was like 30-70, 40-60. And this one came back 50-50, and I wasn't quite sure why. But yeah, the study was right. Yeah. So it worked. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? We should just. Is there like one Airbnb we can all hang out at?
Apparently,
yes.
The 60.
Eva's?
Yeah, the 60-person one.
Yeah, the 60-person.
Has a backyard. That's large enough.
Cool. Let's all hang out.
Backyard.
Yeah, it's outdoors because so many people have COVID. That makes sense. All right, so let's all go there. Make sure you have the address. Oh, Rocky, go ahead, man.
Thank you, Wayne. Moving speech by Paul and Wayne, and there are so many people here with a lot of emotions and also a lot to say, and especially there's someone who's just been here since day one, who's also a St. George resident and really helped us promote this event by a lot. And I think it's right that we hear from her and her experiences about this trial. And with that, without further ado, please welcome up Mikhaili.
Hi everyone, my name is Mikhaili. I'm a local to the St. George area. I'm originally from northern Utah, so being out here is really interesting, and I wasn't sure how this trial was gonna go. I didn't know, like, we've faced a lot of cruel people when we do activism out here, so I was really concerned about how the jury was going to be, but obviously I wanted to be really hopeful. I thought it was really interesting how many different points were expressed in trial, and the way that it seemed so much like the state was trying to just do everything they possibly can. I really don't think that they were ready for how good our case was. I really don't. And I think that this is going to be very historical just in Utah in the first place. And I just want to say how excited I was too about so many vegans coming out to St. George. For the most part, it's just been Anthony and I doing activism, and Sunflower, my daughter. And it's hard, it's really scary, and it takes a lot of bravery. So I feel very happy that all of you are here, and I think that it's going to inspire more people out here. I've already seen a couple people meet up with us and try and figure out how we can do activism. So I'm really happy. That's exactly what I wanted. But I also want to talk about some ways that we can help animals beyond this, because if you're like me and can't really risk your freedom to help animals, and it's hard because I do want to rescue all the animals, but I can't always do that. And so I think that doing anything that you can in a way that you feel good about, I am learning how to advocate in a way that feels good, like pleasure activism, if any of you have heard of that. So speaking up in a way that feels right for you. And I think that there's so many different ways you can speak up. Art, using your voice, taking pictures, even social media sometimes, like YouTube. There's so many different ways, and I think it's really important because I hear a lot of activists or vegans shaming other forms of activism, and I have a video on my YouTube about this, but I think it's really important to not shame other forms of activism because we're all passionate. We're all, you know, speaking the same message, and it's important to work together rather than against each other. Because I think that when we work against each other like that, you turn people against the message completely. And so I think, like, you know, so one of my favorite ways to speak up for the animals is such a simple thing. I carry chalk with me everywhere I go. It's always in my car. And if I'm just sitting there for a minute, I just write a message about the animals, you know? So I have chalktivism events. I have a YouTube page where I spread stuff because, I mean, there's not a lot of people out here in St. George. So I think that it's good that I can spread the message further than just this small town and put it on the internet. And I think that it's really good to just try and figure out how you can spread the message in a way that feels good for you, even if it's a way that doesn't already exist, I guess. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kylie. All right, so we have our last and final speaker. And, you know, Paul and Wayne did an amazing job speaking. You know, no offense to you, Wayne. No offense to you, Paul. Love you all. But, you know, I think we got ourselves like a real powerhouse speaker here. Our main event here, you know, Utah resident. And, yeah, he has like a few words to say. So if you please help me welcome Johnny. Can we come up to the stage? You want to sing a song? Woo! Hey, come on. Give it up for Johnny here. Yeah.
From Winnie the Pooh, it's
You're right. Okay, you want to tell them first? All right, first on. Which one do you want? This or this? Okay. Johnny's going to use the green megaphone.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sing a song from Winnie the Pooh. It's Hum-the-Dee-Dum. It's from when he's climbing a honey tree in the movie. Okay? Hum-da-dee-dum, hum-da-dee-dum, I'm so humbly in my tumbly. Time to munch an early lunch and hum-da-dee-dum-dum. Oh, I wouldn't climb this tree if a poo didn't like a bee, but I wouldn't be a bear then, so I guess I wouldn't care then. Bears are funny and I'm a pooh bear, so I do care, so I'll climb there. I'm so hungry in my tumbly, it's time for something sweet.
Woo! Give it up for Johnny! All right, Wayne. The mic is yours.
All right, I think we're going to party, huh? Make sure, I don't know who has the address, and hopefully everyone's in the signal chat. There's like a noisy signal chat.
You tell me where it's good? Yeah, so we have a lot of people watching, and I know a lot of people are probably feeling really inspired because I'm feeling really inspired. Like, we just established the right to rescue in Utah, essentially, you know, and I am wondering if people are feeling like, what are you going to do? What's next? And there's a couple things I think that people can do, and the most important thing is to get active. And we are going to come back in 2023 with the Animal Liberation Conference in late May or early June. We don't have dates yet, but I'm hoping that every single person who is watching this live stream is planning to come to the Animal Liberation Conference, and that is a place where you can get trained, where you can do incredible actions like we have been doing every single year, rescuing animals every single year since 2017 at the conference. And so please come to that, or make a note to come to that, because it's where we want you to be. And you know, we had all these plans to go out there and protest Costco and protest the U.S. embassies if Paul and Wayne are in prison, and obviously we're not going to have to do that now, but I think that now is the time to keep the pressure on Smithfield. Like, they just took a huge hit, but it's not like they're going out of business and they're not exploiting animals anymore. They totally still are. So we encourage everybody out there to take action. Go protest Costco. Tell them to drop Smithfield as one of their suppliers. Jury just found that animals in their farms were in such terrible condition that they deserved to be rescued, and that wasn't a crime. So I'm hoping people will go take action. And one other last thing is, this was a huge victory, but it also wasn't that cheap to pull off. We paid attorneys, we paid jury pool analysis, we got all these people to Utah, we have expert witnesses and everything like that, and we would so appreciate if you wanted to sign up to be a monthly donor for DXE. You just go to dxe.io/donate and you sign up. And also right now, I don't know if you have it here, but we have an I Support the Right to Rescue mug, which is really cute, and it has a picture of Lily on it. So get yourself a historic mug, dxe.io/donate. Maybe whoever's watching can put that in the link in the comments for people. And yeah, donations are great, but the main thing, again, take action, protest Costco, keep the pressure on Smithfield to come to the conference the next year. And there's going to be trials in Wisconsin and Sonoma. Where's the conference? It's going to be in the Bay Area. Not 100% sure if it's going to be in Berkeley or Oakland yet. That is going to be a question for Kitty Jones, and we are going to start planning the conference as soon as we get back from Utah. Awesome. What was the last thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, boost this everywhere. It's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram. We want the whole world to know. It was in the New York Times today. We've heard Andrew Jacobs, who wrote the New York Times piece, is going to be updating his piece with the verdict. I think we're expecting a lot more press pieces to come in, so thank you all so much for your support.
Awesome. Well, the battery of this cell phone is dying, so I'm gonna finish the live stream. Thank you so much for watching this. Please share everywhere and use the hashtag Smithfield Trial. Thank you so much for your support, and see you soon. Woo!